Here we go, rolling out onto Night Market. Spot a little bit of the Hammond at one stage, but it is Talon Esports going to drop that out. It's both teams going to be running the GOATS composition, 3 supports, 3 tanks.
And they're running it in exactly the same way. No variations, no deviations between the two, and it's MSKR that made it to the point a bit quicker. Haru, are you joking? Already got VK off the edge there, and that's the difference. When you come in from that courtyard side, you do have that ledge to play with, but Lee Jae Gon shows that he can do exactly the same, and suddenly the tank's out of the picture now for Talon, those 2 big shields. So MSKR, they have backed off, but they will get a good opportunity to counterattack.
That double kill from Lee Jae Gon is going to actually allow Monster Shield to come back in quite quickly, so they haven't allowed the cap to go over just yet.
And that means we're effectively back at square one. Both teams have regrouped back to full fighting force, but it is Talon with possession of the point. That means they get the cap now out fighting in the courtyards. Both teams just jostling about, but this profits Talon. It's all time on the point for them. They get the rally out as well, starting to eke out an advantage here. Good sound barrier, though, keeps Monster Shield in the fight, and neither team has come out the better of the skirmish yet.
It depends who gets the ultimates first. You can see the self-destruct already coming out. Graviton Surge is coming out next. There it is from Perfect.
But Villeneuve dead. Awake was able to get his own grab out, but nowhere near the same impact. Unfortunately for Talon, Perfect and Inev were still in the fight. Villeneuve's early death just kind of cost them a bit there, and Monster Shield Korea looking like they should be able to regain possession of this point, or rather, gain it for the first time.
You can see there from Monster Shield Korea how deadly they are when they can keep up in terms of ultimate charge. They lost that first fight, but they still managed to get a grab in there. They were very competitive. The sound barrier immediately matches the rally, then they pop up their own rally. Coalescence coming down at the same time as Persia as well.
And now they've got some good ultimates on the defense. BK self-destruct, not quite hitting the mark, but it keeps Talon caught up in this tight little space. Gagora flat on his back is going to be just fine. Can't get the angle in. Villeneuve's Earth Shatter goes wide. And now the teams start to come out to the courtyard. It's a full force invasion. Beppo and Persia both with the coalescences. These teams are matching each other for ultimates so evenly, but Awake gets the grab just a fraction of a second before Perfect. And that's going to make all the difference now as Talon regain possession of the point, almost matching the percentage.
And here's where the arms race really kind of breaks up Talon Esports. They get the Graviton Surge out first. Previously, it was Monster Shield's Graviton Surge from Perfect that allowed them to cap. He at least is able to save it for this time, but it does put Talon back into gear with that progress.
Now Talon looking to set up their own sort of spawn camp-ish, but the grab out from Perfect throws a spanner, and those works already with Villeneuve and Bazzi down. They're not going to be able to stay in this one. Gagora not going to commit a self-destruct. Only a little bit of point progress this time, which means Talon are going to have to counter-attack very, very fast. It's hard to do that when you're getting staggered out.
The staggers are quite important here as well. Note that Inev has caught up to Villeneuve in terms of the Earth Shatter, so Reinhardt Chicken is definitely on the menu for this next fight, but so is that sound barrier from Lee Jae Gon. That's the X factor. Haru doesn't quite have his yet, and Persia is still lacking behind on that coalescence, but should get it soon.
Will at least be leading Beppo in that regard when he gets it. And Awake is also a little bit ahead of Perfect. So if Talon can get in here fast, there's a big change at hand. There's a connection from Villeneuve, but not quite enough follow-up. There's a sound barrier. Oh, double catch from Gagora. And it's actually the self-destruct that is the X factor in the fight. Talon bleed themselves dry for that fight, but it is well worth it. They still have a grab, and they're going to get the point back.
This has been completely back and forth. This cap has changed hands so many times. And for Talon Esports, they once again will get this. They're going to equalize back to 80%, but that kind of puts it back onto Monster Shield Korea as well. Now, both teams in the position to actually cap this out and actually win the first night market.
And neither team has won a fight while holding the point. Not just yet. There's a grab out. If they can get the kills, this pushes it over the edge as an even crazy fall. And that was going to be the difference maker if there ever was one between these two teams. And with that, Talon win the subsequent fight while holding the point.
This time, Monster Shield Korea definitely behind in Ultimates. Perfect doesn't quite match with that Graviton Surge just yet. Previously, he would have had it by now. They don't have the Earth Shatter either. It's just a coalescence.
Such a game of inches, and Monster Shield struggling to get to this point. I think they sent Lee Jae Gon around the side just to get some boots, or rather rollerblades, onto it. But the rest of his team isn't going to be able to follow up. 2 of the tanks already dead. VK now following them, and there's the bash on Lee Jae Gon to make sure the contest doesn't continue. A true game of inches, but Talon coming the better of that is very significant.
I'm going to be quite honest here as well. Gagora had the game changer in the middle of that game. He had the double kill and the self-destruct that was the only sort of change-up in terms of who was leading in ultimates. Monster Shield were definitely keeping up with Talon Esports, but as soon as they dropped 2 members to the self-destruct, they were slowly further and further back behind. Monster Shield were then losing more and more fights. Didn't see the next grab come out, didn't see the next Earth Shadow really connect either. And for Monster Shield, just too slow on the mark.
Going on to Control Center as well, another very GOATS-heavy map. And it looks like both teams actually want to run it again. That's really interesting when you consider Talon just barely came out the better of the last one. If they get a repeat performance here, all they need to do is hit that same mark.
And I say in the quarterfinals as well, MSKR and Talon Esports against Blank and Hong Kong Attitude were running mostly this composition against the counterparts, and they both won with it. This is interesting. Talon Esports going to roll out on the top.
This is a very strange rotation. It does give Monster Shield the precedence over the point itself, so it's on Talon to answer it. I'm wondering how they're going to play this out here.
Well, Talon have to get to the low ground eventually. Monster Shield have control of the point. Talon can't afford to wait for too long. They have to go while the point's open.
And there it is, right as it unlocks. They want to go straight in, dive on. Haven't quite got an early kill. And now it's just the two teams scrapping. But MSK are pulled back. That gave Talon space. Technically, they now are capturing the point. Inev is low as well. They need to follow that one up. Don't quite close him out.
Nearly coalescence.
Neither team getting the better of this one just yet. If a kill can come out and first, no. Beppo gets the coalescence purge. And Villeneuve, round the side, gets them all. Slams Inev against the wall. And Talon, having already cut the point, also win the fight.
And look at where Nev is, 93% on his own Shadow. The first ultimates are so impactful in these kind of games when you're just brawling 6 versus 6. No one can get a pick. The only thing that changes things here is that ultimate. And the first coalescence that comes up, the first Shadow that comes up, the first grab that comes up will make the difference.
And the self-destruct into the mix as well. They cannot shield it and they all fall down. You consider the difference between those two grabs. Perfect is lagging behind, and that's now the second time that's made the difference between these two teams.
The difference now is, in terms of what is it from the night market game, is the fact that Talon Esports have 2 fight wins in a row. Monster Shield now have to try and win 1. They're so far behind in progress.
Villeneuve's nearly got an Earth Shatter up again before Inev's had a chance to use his own. Monster Shield do have more ultimates.
That's a great
There's that Earth Shatter. Villeneuve's not going to be able to answer with his. Nearly was able to hit that point, but just not quite. And with that, MSKR also get to preserve some big ultimates. Should be able to win the subsequent fight in their own right.
That's hugely impactful from Inev. Gets Villeneuve before he gets his own Earth Shatter. A little bit of a taste of their own medicine, I should probably say here for Monster Shield Korea. Only 1 ultimate realistically used. Got to count the rally maybe, so there's 2. But Talon Esports now definitely lagging behind. Double supported ultimates coming up for the next fight, but they do have a 60% progress lead as well.
The one thing they have going for them here, the rally coming up sooner on Fancy than on Crazy. Earth Shatter out of Villeneuve, but counted out by a grab. No follow-up. Now a weak, slowly charging his own. Lee J gone is the first casualty, and that's a big shift. No sound barrier for MSKR, and Talon at a deficit in the ultimate game. Just brawl their way in, find the angles on the kills, and are going to once again regain possession of the point. They are looking like the better team right now.
The tank plays are neutralizing each other's ultimates there. You'll notice the Earth Shatter did come down, but also Perfect with the Graviton Surge. Make sure that both teams actually can't follow up on those ultimates. No one can go on to the grab. No one can follow the Shatter either.
Speaking of ultimates, a week again, a grab available, and Villeneuve's going to have his Earth Shatter as well to match Inev. The uptime on this has been so massive for Talon.
See, we places this grab, and you should be definitely expecting it at this rate.
And again, the self-destruct in that wombo combo. This time it's blocked out, though. Gogora does not get back in the mech. VK throws his one forward, catches Villeneuve. That's so huge. Talon, they actually had the tools to just stop that fight before it started, but they didn't connect on them, and now MSKR pouts on the opportunity, wrest control back.
Very important fight win for Monster Shield Korea. If they had lost that fight, this point would have gone over to Talon. They would have won this map. Lee Jung-tae would have given them that 1-0. Monster Shield now with that opportunity. Rally coming up soon. Coalescence and Graviton Surge already prepared. But look at a week. He's nearly back to his second one of the fight.
That's the mind-blowing thing. He and Villeneuve have both been doing this. They've just been outstripping MSKR in terms of that ultimate uptime, and it's been so big for them. Villeneuve's already committed it. The grab on top of Talon stops the follow-up once again, but they've survived that grab, and now a week will be coming up on his own. They haven't lost any members, and there's the grab on MSKR as they start to hemorrhage huge deaths. And with that, Talon looking to take control of that point back for what is likely to be the final time, especially as they stagger out Beppo now. It may be the VK can stall this one, but it'll only be a stall.
Spotted.
Yeah, he knows that they're there and the stun. He will still buy overtime, but I don't see MSKR following this one up, not with VK already dead and that stagger coming out.
Monster Shield don't have any ultimates to play with, maybe this Earth Shatter, but Nev has to live and he goes down.
Yeah, straight away, and that's the last chance for MSKR. Dashed against the walls. Double win there for Talon on Lijiang Tower, both playing the exact same team composition. We said that MSKR were on paper just the better of these two teams. I think it is now the opposite.
Talon Esports are definitely here to play today. You'll see the difference between the two teams across those two rounds of Lijiang Tower. Every single time, it's Talon Esports winning those early fights. And the second time around a control center, it's Talon Esports winning 2 back-to-back. And even when Monster Shield are trying to swing things back around again, they're having to sometimes use ultimates, especially in the case of control center, just to counter out the initiation from the Talon side first. It's always Villeneuve's Earth Shadow coming down. Does connect with a few members, so questions to a Nev in terms of being his ability to be able to block that, but then Perfect, the Monster Shield Korea Zarya player, haven't used a Graviton Surge almost to nullify the effect of the Earth Shadow. They're trading tank ultimates. Neither team can really take effect of each other's ultimates, but it's been the Graviton Surges that have been winning fights, but only for Talon.
And that's the real amazing thing. I mean, that's why I say that it feels like Talon, at least in that regard, are looking like the better of these two teams right now. Is what better metric do you get, right? That is a head-to-head, exactly mirrored. There was no difference between those two team compositions on both of those maps, and Talon won both of them in the same way for the same reasons. They're tank players. They have better ultimate uptime. They're charging them up quicker, and that means they're getting more out of them. Like you said, MSKR are having to use theirs just to shut Talon's down, and Talon are always having more ultimates to play with than MSKR.
And the opposite true as well. Earth Shatter coming down, which stops a Monster Shield from being able to take advantage of the Graviton Surges, which, as was mentioned, have been sort of very impactful ultimates. If you look at the Graviton Surges coming out from Talon Esports, those have been big winners. Going into combo with Gagora's Self-Destruct, a 5-kill in the middle of that control center game as well. What I will say is a little bit of a caveat here is when you do have both those compositions going up against each other and they're exactly mirrored, momentum is very important, especially in a GOATS composition. Again, 3 tank, 3 supports. The team that kind of gets that early ultimate charge lead win that ultimate race, the ultimate charge arms race here. They just keep that uptime going. They continue winning. They continue getting more ults. As you're losing on the losing side, you're getting less ult, you're getting less charge uptime, and you're just losing more and more. So winning those opening team fights, so important. And it's no surprise here that 2 out of 2, Talon Esports winning that opening fight, winning a second fight after that as a follow-up. Of course, I mean, they have the advantage going in for the rest of the entire map. So it's up to Monster Shield to play catch-up. Unfortunately, they couldn't do it this time.
And that's actually another thing that's really worthwhile mentioning is they also won both of those opening engages. Those were both very unique, actually, over the course of this, because that was the one fight where that extra ultimate uptime wasn't a factor. In fact, both teams were hitting those same ultimate cooldowns at almost exactly the same time in those fights. Sometimes even MSKR were leading, getting those ultimate firsts. We saw that a lot with coalescences and sound barriers just by a fraction of a second, and yet Talon was still winning the fights. There's just a better execution. But now moving forward, we get off Lijiang Tower where that GOATS is huge. We move into places where it's maybe not quite as optimal. Indeed, we will be going forward onto Eichenwalde.
There's also a potential now for either team to make their substitutions. They're both running 7-man rosters, and again, based on Lijiang Tower, it's been a game of inches so far. As a reminder, Villeneuve basically won that opening fight on Control Center with the initial Earth Shatter, and Nev was still sitting at about 94%. That's the kind of difference, about 6% in ult charge here. First Shatter comes down, that's a game fight winner so far. But we are moving on to Eichenwalde, which kind of will suggest some other compositions. Fire is going to come into play, Widowmaker is going to come into play, maybe Sombra comes into play as well. Those are things we expect to see. Orisa Hog on that first point as well. So teams now going to have to change things up. It is going to get a little bit more interesting when teams are not running the exact same compositions. So we'll see who's a little bit better in adapting.
It's interesting as well to note, we saw both of these teams yesterday on King's Row, and in both situations it was not either of their map picks. When one of these teams is the one pick, hybrid, in this case MSKR, it'd take us to Eichenwalde.
First thing that's quite clear here is we already see a Mercy. We did see a Farah in play as well, and now the Orisa on the field. So already seeing the alternate compositions come through. This is Icon World, so you're not really going to be playing a ground-based composition. Let's take a look at any substitutions. And Nev is still in. Week and TYG are in, which means there has been a substitution made on the Talon Esports side. Bazzi is out.
Yeah, it's the only change between these two teams. Interesting to not see Luke. They often do bring him in when they are running an Orisa, but they're happy to keep Nev on it here. And also interesting that they're opting into a Hanzo over a Widowmaker for that sniper battle. And actually Talon now opting off that Widowmaker. They're going to stick with Goats.
This is going to be interesting. Monster Shield have to play a very different play style to counter this out. They have to play for disengage, poke out Talon Esports, and continue backing up. When Talon Esports are weak, that's when they strike.
And in theory, MSKR, if they can do that, they should win this. But Talon getting aggressive. They know how to play their Goats. So
Talon's low.
Yeah, they are indeed. And it's looking like MSKR just kind of playing that one very effectively, pulling back, giving the space to Crazy, barraging down those tanks, chipping away at them, now starting to close out the kills.
You see how long it takes Talon Esports to make those rotations as well. Go indoors, go up the stairs. Monster Shield completely see what's going on. So they just disengage backwards, give Talon a little bit of space, keep poking down the kills, keep poking down the members, and that's how they're getting advantage.
TYG's actually swapped to Tracer just because otherwise it's hard for him to rejoin his team. Early Coalescence though out from Persia means they pick Beppo, and looking like they're going to be able to drum down VK as well. Yeah, Perfect low, but they're keeping him topped off. That's critical. They need his Dragon Strike, but they need it now because Talon's on the point. There it comes out as VK goes out of the mech thanks to TYG, and only one, now two kills in response. The ultimate's coming out on rotation from MSKR. They haven't won the fight just yet, but they should be able to beat back Talon off this.
Well, there's 2 ticks are already available for Talon Esports. They only need a little bit more, but they are losing a lot of members now. Double tanks down. They also lost supports earlier. That should spell the end of their push. And for Monster Shield Korea, they have to play a little bit more resilient on the cap this time around. They can't make the long disengage rotations to try and match Talon Esports. They have to have feet on the ground, and Talon Esports can pressure the point straight away.
When you consider that Talon were in a disadvantageous position, they're stuck in that building 5 versus 6, but MSKR couldn't close it out until quite a lot later. It's a little bit troubling. Now rotating in for their next push, already gaining the point, nearly having the cap out. MSKR taking their time to contest.
Ult's
they
available.
lose VK, and yeah, ult's up as the pulse bomb goes wide. Self-destruct from Gagora, gonna close this one out. And Talon, 1-2 punch combo here, with the 2 being the second push on the point. Earth Shatter just for good measures. The Dragon Strike proves ineffective as a response. Payload now underway for Talon.
A respectable slowdown there as well. Monster Shield Korea did force Talon Esports back multiple times. You're seeing a bit of a compositional swap now from Talon Esports, just minus a week, who does want to maintain that Graviton Surge charge, but otherwise they know they have to play dive on this second point because they need the verticality. You can't continue with the Goats onto B because you can't afford to stay on the ground.
This is where you're really seeing that substitution of TYG coming in, paying off for them. He is deadly on that Tracer.
He changed so quick onto that as well. He just understood the situation, knew what his strengths are, and could see how good he was. Speaking of good, that's perfect down to Gagora already. Yeah,
it just goes to show they're not just a Goats one trick. They've got the dive down pat. They do lose Gagora's mech. TYG not quite connecting with the pulse bomb. They force Perfect to change. The card's not actually stopped though.
So have this Graviton Surge to play with. Does spot a few members. That's a big grab.
Yeah, nice. Catches them all onto the bridge. The only one not is Perfect around the side. Takes a bit of time to follow up though, because Gagora does not have the mech. He couldn't jump up to close out on members, and Villeneuve took a bit of time. 1 for 1 now. Amazingly, Gagora getting crazy, and off that gets back in his mech. This is a big change of the tune now for Talon. Could stay in this one. Beppo down as the res comes in for Crazy. So numbers still even. Lee J gone in trouble, and VK, can he get back in that mech? Yes, he can. This is looking a little bit troublesome now for Talon.
A week also changed onto the Widowmaker here, so really respecting the threat coming out of Crazy. Goes down to Gagora anyway, and Talon Esports are not to be stopped. They are continuing to push.
Yeah, that Primal Rage was very big there for Villeneuve. Not only did it make extra space for the cart, they then started getting kills too. And TYG with a double at the end of the fight. This cart's effectively not been stopped this entire time.
Now it's Talon Esports with the spawn control as well. It's Monster Shield Korea. They have to fight back and try and stall this card up, but they don't have a lot of space to work with.
They don't have a lot of ults to work with either. Inev's already dead, and he was the closest 1-2-1. Beppo's coming up on a Transcendence, but I think by the time he's got it, his team's going to be too dead to save. Pulls it out anyway, but it's only himself and Crazy on the point. Inev might be able to rejoin. And even then, if they do, it's still an uphill battle. I think this is going to go the way of Talon. It's just a matter of time.
It's objective pressure that Talon Esports are doing so well with right now. Go back to that 8-point, 2 ticks in that initial fight. Now onto B, they get so much distance initially, and they don't stop pushing. They are never fully reset. Monster Shield Korea now onto the last point defense, swapping onto the Junkrat. And for Talon Esports, just keeping momentum with these ultimates so far.
TYG's decided he wants to match that one too. Both teams making this call independently of one another. Talon looking to siege out, and Crazy looking to put the damage down as Talon engage, and there it already comes out, but it's in favor of TYG. They have to raise Crazy just because they need more spam damage out, but now TYG leads in ultimate charge, and Talon are already pulling ahead in the fight itself. Again, this cart is not going to be stopped.
That's a real issue for Monster Shield Korea right now. They're still far away from a Riptire. Look at TYG. He's a much closer. Crazy goes down again. He spent a long time dead right now.
Killing Haru is important. It means that any other kills that MSKR can get on Talon will stick. They've only got a week so far, though, and Talon have the ultimates. Gagora throws up the self-destruct, will be able to get back in that mech too. No, he will not, actually. TYG with that Riptire only gets VK's mech, and this is where MSKR can turn things around. But Talon are not making it easy for them. TYG finally goes down, and by the time that's all happened, Talon are just about ready for a counterattack anyway.
This is where you see that kill into Haru really paying off despite Crazy dying. You said here, as long as Haru is down, any other kill becomes permanent for this fight. Straight away, Talon Esports lose another member. All they have left is Persia solo healing with a Transcendence. They didn't want to use that, so they have to reset. Monster Shield, with that respawn advantage, eventually overwhelmed the attackers.
And Talon are close to ultimates again anyway, when you consider they've just made a big compositional change.
The May now.
Yeah, that's a bit of a spicy one out of MSKR, but not necessarily a bad call here when you consider Talon's lineup.
It's good to count out Talon's main shield tanks right now. You can see the division there.
Oh no, catching TYG.
It's a big kill.
Yeah, they had the Transcendence, but it's not enough to save TYG. Forces the raise out on him, but they already immediately pays that one back, and also Headshot and Crazy. Weak now popping off. Look at this guy go, and that's going to crack this point open like an egg. Talon are hungry for an omelet. They're going to get one with the Riptire as well, and MSKR just slowly getting
no response tire.
Oh man, a weak one. What a shot out of that tire in the sky. I'm glad this guy isn't out when I'm driving. And Lee J gone too. This dude is absolutely unstoppable right now, and Talon are now poised to cap.
And the big problem here is Monster Shield is so focused onto the card, they just need to stop this capture, but a week is unpressured, he's uncontested, and that means Talon Esports will be able to finish this point. They will complete the entire map, and a week onto the back line with the rest of the team pushing forward, Monster Shield would put in a really difficult place. No one could shoot a week back, and he could shoot everyone else on the Monster Shield side.
And that's the thing, the card is so close that you can't afford to change onto your own sniper. You just don't have the sort of time to play that sniper head-to-head. Unless you get one quick shot on the defense, it would just hurt you more than it would help you, and it gave a weak free space. Good read by Talon to take advantage of that situation.
The thing is, as well, for Monster Shield Korea's third-point defense, they did swap Perfect onto the May, but you didn't quite see enough time for that pick to really be useful. Yes, the wall did come down a couple times, but it didn't swap Villain, it didn't kind of stop Villeneuve or Gore. It didn't split them up the kind of way you expected May to be able to against a double shield tank composition. Also didn't quite live long enough for the Blizzard to come into effect either. That being said, Crazy was also another member dying on their Junkrat a lot of times. He died on 99% ultimate charge during the last fight, came back, tried to use a tire, a weak on the Widowmaker, snipes that tire straight out.
You do have to commend MSKR on that defense though, to an extent. Purely because for how much the cart didn't really seem to stop, it's only 57 seconds in the time bank for Talon. And a lot of that really comes from that last fight taking quite a while, and also technically the one that they lost just prior to that. And then also the first fight, the point cap taking 2 quite protracted pushes for Talon. That's the difference maker in terms of time. If MSKR can get a faster fight in both those situations, they can beat that time.
I think that's the thing consistent about Talon Esports so far across all 3 points on their attack is every single first attempt on all 3 points has had progress. Look at point A, 2 ticks. Look at point B, partway through onto that bridge. Look at point C, nearly finished the entire game. They just have to come back for a second attempt, and they make it happen on that second attempt.
This is incredible. Both teams have opted back into Ghosts.
Yeah,
not often
again.
see that on the defense. I think this is a read by Talon. They think MSKR are going to play it, and they know that they can play Goats better. Already seeing that getting the drop on MSKR. No kills out just yet, and both teams running so close on the ultimate charge. No one's really coming out the better of that, but it will be the first ultimates up that decide this brawl.
Absolutely is. Remember the momentum change on Lee Jiang. Whoever gets the first ultimates, whoever wins these first fights will have that momentum to carry them through, and they should win the successful fights.
There it is, straight onto 3 of them, and the immediate cleanup as well. Just a fraction of a second faster than Inev. And the amazing thing about that, for the first time ever, Perfect was actually leading a week in ultimate charge, but it was the faster Earth Shatter that has made the difference.
That's exactly what happened at Control Center as well. That was the first fight. Villeneuve comes down with the Earth Shatter. Nev failing to block that, failing to get his own Earth Shatter. That's Monster Shield losing that initial fight. What they do have, like you mentioned, is that quicker Graviton Surge. If they can make that work, they can still win this next fight.
And once they get it up as well, they can commit that and an Earth Shatter. So they come in with a bit of an ultimate advantage. It's one of the few times...
For a short time.
You haven't actually charged up the extra ultimates off a fight win.
You also see now a week's nearly there, so they can't wait too long. He's about to hit the zone Graviton Surge. Earth Shatter already came down.
Has not got much done, and now just double grab out for both, but MSKR are the ones cleaning it up. They just had that extra time to play with in terms of laying damage down, and they make it work for them. Getting the point now in what'll be roughly the same time as what Talon did.
Talon Esports already changing compositions, looking to counter out Monster Shield as much as they can. It'll be interesting to see if Monster Shield can read that and want to change themselves. There is a world where actually both teams don't look at each other's compositions and both teams stay on this GOATs. There's also a world where both teams completely swap.
You're already seeing MSKR deciding, no, we don't want to stick with this. We actually saw Perfect go onto Widow and then onto Tracer. Now they're going for a fuller change-up. Talon as well. Same kind of situation, full change up. The team comp that they actually used to finish their point C cap, they're now going to pull out on point B defense.
You also see here a week started onto the fire just in case Monster Shield are going to continue playing GOATs. Swaps onto the Widowmaker as soon as they identify that's not the case, but there are still a couple ultimates to work with for Monster Shield. Can't really say that about Talon.
1 for 1. Taking a week out, though, is a very big threat removed on the side of Talon, which opens things up for this dive, and you already see MSKR taking advantage of that situation. Just starting to get the cart moving now.
There's still some slowdown. Gagora's still alive, and just stop this cart momentum, which is going to give Talon Esports an opportunity to re-defend, re-come out of that spawn location and get a defensive position. That's something that Monster Shield Korea were not allowed to do when they were defending. So for Talon Esports right now, an opportunity.
This is pretty big now, the momentum moving forward. This is roughly what Talon had on their own attack, so MSKR just kind of matching them pound for pound. But a week again, the moment he's back in the fight, he's really hurting Monster Shield Korea. And this angle, ooh, nearly caught Lee Jae Gon there.
This time there's no trade, as I say that though, Perfect here to get that one against a week, and Crazy coming back alive as well, courtesy of Lee Jae Gon. And it's Perfect versus TYG in this Tracer versus Tracer battle that is very defining as well.
Pulse Bomb doesn't quite find Persia, but the dive will as the tanks come into support.
Oh, yeah.
BK as well, getting so much more mileage than Gagora. And with that, MSKR rounding the bend now with the payload on final approach.
And these next ultimates coming up are very important for Monster Shield and for Talon as well. If they can come back and defend, maybe they force out the Primal Rage, maybe they force out the Transcendence. If they can do that, Monster Shield will not have momentum going into C.
Again, a week, and getting Lee Jae Gon is huge. No res. These kills stick. Beppo's got a Transcendence, which, no, he doesn't. He's got a head that's locked off his body. And now a week already making this defense possible for Talon. Monster Shield Korea know what's up. They take the dive. They accept they can't win this fight.
And this time, Monster Shield Korea, when they do come out of spawn, they will be forced to use these ultimates. That's basically non-negotiable. A week taking down Beppo as well. This one you expect to probably get rezzed in, but that's a very quick res gun. A week is making his statement very clear right now. You will lose someone to me when you begin this fight.
No one can hide.
And that's not something MSKR can afford right now. You can't pop any of those ultimates too early either. You've got to get all the way to the cart, and they effectively have the brawl back around the position. Oh no, he got stunned out. Crazy. Quick reflexes there as the Pulse Bomb goes wide. Now a week really has to get some kills to even up the scoreboard.
It's a problem for Talon Esports because Haru can't res that one up. You can see the immediate pressure onto that cart, and the Primal Rage does come out. Expect the Transcendence to follow soon.
There is closer respawns for Talon, which is good news for getting TYG back in the fight, but it's bad news because in that brief moment of 5 versus 6, MSKR have pounced, and Talon now hemorrhaging out members. Monster Shield Korea looking poised to get the cap over. Lost quite a bit of time on that push, and even this is taking them a while. Talon are doing a decent job of stalling things out, but they need to be careful to not feed too much ultimate charge.
Nev on the Monster Shield side, shifting priority back onto a weak. forcing him to change onto something like a Junkrat. They're already expecting Talon Esports, that is, to go onto that point C defense. And Beppo, Vigilance coming through, he does not use that Transcendence, is allowed to save up for point C, which is very important. Monster Shield now have some opportunity to get these ultimates rolling before Talon Esports can respond in time.
Talon going back onto the shield tanks, also TYG onto a Hanzo, and a week out onto a Junkrat. Monster Shield Korea not too dissimilar, at least in that DPS side of things.
See how fast Monster Shield can charge these new ultimates up as well, but a week is getting a pretty big lead, 40% already. Here comes that self-destruct though.
And also the dive in. It means Villeneuve has to turn that shield around, which leaves some members vulnerable, but they have just weathered that one for now. Persia off on the side here. Staying safe for the time being. Neither team quite getting the better of this one just yet.
The Monster Shield don't get enough momentum on this first push. They're going to be lost for time.
Ooh,
they've already forced the Primal.
And Beppo had to use the Transcendence. It's a lot of ultimates forced out, and Talon can match them. Beppo's dead as that Transcendence runs out in a week. Leading Crazy in the charge. Doesn't quite get the kill out. Crazy double with that concussive mine. Talon is still getting more kills though, and they are going to hold this defense for a little longer.
The issue is the response kills came from Gagora and Villeneuve for Monster Shield against Monster Shield Korea, which means it's the tanks of Talon Esports that get the next ultimate charge rotation. The tie already came out from a week. He didn't quite get enough done with it, but it doesn't matter. The tanks pulled through. Now there's a Shadow coming through. Now there's going to be a Graviton Surge, and guess what? The Dragon's there as well. It's Grav Dragon time again.
The only answer that MSKR really have is Crazy's Riptire about to come up. If that can get a lot of kills, they can get enough of an opening. But that's a big ask right now.
He's going to do it soon because Talon Esports are going to be poised to strike first. They have initiative. They are very proactive. You can see that Gagora is already looking for this Graviton Surge.
Wants to chuck it down onto the cart. Where's the Dragon to rake across them? Don't quite. There it is out. Gets a Nev. That's plenty enough. Even got VK for good measure. And Lee J gone on the retreat. That is Grav Dragon classic. And now Monster Shield Korea running out of time.
The thing is, you might not be able to damage boost the Dragon anymore, but it's not like there was a Transcendence on the other side anyway. So the damage is clear. The damage is enough. There is still that tire from Crazy, and it is their final opportunity to use it.
Just need to get in, need to get on that cart. And if Talon can win one more, they take Eichenwalder. They put it to match point. They put Monster Shield Korea, the highest seed, thoroughly on the back foot here. And they've got the ultimates to do it too.
Here comes that Dragon from Perfect coming up first. Does rake across that battlefield, giving Monster Shield some space to work with, but they need to make that count. They need to be able to push now.
Yeah, they get onto the cart. Now they pull out a Riptire. What are they looking for? They get Haru. That's big. He had the Valkyrie running, but the kills are coming through for Talon, and now their own tire. Who's he going to find? Has to wait out the Transcendence. Gets VK, and they've tipped the balance. It's just Beppo, Crazy, Perfect. No tanks to support them, and they start to fall down. Crazy will get the one, but it's only the one, and they do complete the defense. Talon, they came into this, quote-unquote, the underdogs, and they are about to send MSKR packing.
They came in as the underdogs in the quarterfinal against Hong Kong Attitude as well, and they proved them wrong. They're here now to prove Monster Shield Korea wrong. The potential Royal Road is first place in trials coming through, first place in groups. We've seen this happen before. It's been Ardian. It's also been Detonated Korea. But for Monster Shield right now, at risk of being eliminated in their semifinals. And for Talon Esports getting so close to reaching that epic grand finals. And Talon Esports as well.
Wow.
I kind of doubted them. I was looking at the initial Lijiang Tower match like, well, it's a decent start, but maybe Monster Shield, maybe Monster Shield got a little bit unlucky there. Maybe the margins were just a little bit too tight. On Eichenwalder, there are no more excuses. It's a 2-0. Talon Esports are definitely outplaying them right now.
That's the thing that's blowing my mind, really, is actually both of these teams have looked incredibly similar in a lot of ways. You know, it's both playing the exact mirror composition on Lijiang Tower and also trading incredibly evenly. Then you see it on Eichenwalder. Both teams running similar things on their attacks, getting similar times, similar cap outs. But in every single circumstance, it's been Talon just getting a little bit more. And that little bit more has made the difference, right? There's a point where doing that consistently is just being the better of the two teams. That's the mantle we thought belonged to MSKR at the top of this series.
That's slowly being exchanged over to Talon in their hands, and they're proving the point right now. They're doing it with multiple different compositions, different lineups as well. We thought Bazzi was a primary Widowmaker for the team. A week is there's nothing to laugh at, man. He was hitting some really insane shots.
Yeah, no one's laughing at that.
Well, he's probably laughing straight to the bank after that. And with that, We're going to go to a bit of a quick break here. It is halfway through our first semi-final of the evening, our first semi-final of Contenders Pacific Season 2. When we come back, the conclusion between Monster Shield Korea and Talon Esports. Come back and find out after this break.